right, I think we're on, just so you know.
Okay.
Let's see. I want to also open up Hello everybody. We're just getting all the pages set up here, and Mom has to sew a last little block. So if you're joining us today, we are preparing for the Grandma's Garden 57-inch border for the Quiltworx box series. It's not the quilt on the wall, but we don't have a quilt yet to put on the wall for this. So so the one on the wall is called Pocket Full of Posies. So let's see. I'm trying to get so I can see all of the chat windows. Okay, I can see the chat in YouTube. I can see. All right, if you're joining us in YouTube, oh, I see people on Facebook who are saying hello. Well, hello from Vancouver, Canada. Diane Lyons, Claire Compton, Sue Heron. Oh, Diane Selman. Sandy from Arizona. Sandy came to one of our Quiltworx University events. So I know Sandy. I remember her very well. Okay, so let's see. Judy is just getting the last couple little things here. I hope that everyone is having a good, I don't even know what today is. Wednesday? Wednesday. You want to say hi, Mav? Say hi, Mav. There's Maverick. He's going to join us today. So if he decides he wants out, you might hear a little bit of noise. All right, buddy, get down. Let's get down. Good boy. All right, down. Lay down. We'll see if he lays down. Okay. Yeah, someone said I spy Christmas cookie. It is on the wall behind us. We could take a quick second and show it off. I'm going to actually move this chair out of the way here. Oh, the dog already wants out. Yeah, we'll pull Christmas cookie off the wall and we'll show it to you guys. Come here, Maverick. All right, so Christmas Cookie is our brand new publication. I'm going to switch the screen here. So we just got it out. We just were able to publish it on Friday. I think if we bring it behind, it actually shows a little better. Let's just bring it back here. And we'll hold it up. There we go. Isn't it cute?
Are you going to lean it up against the wall? Go back a ways.
It's a 70-inch tree skirt. It was actually, this quilt was made by one of our certified instructors, Jody Madison, and I can never remember the lady's name who quilted it off the top of my head, but it's in the pattern, and she's in Wisconsin. She's quilted a couple quilts for Jody that have showed up on our cover sheets. But anyway, it's so cute. It's out of a Christmas collection from Island Batik that just started shipping. And we have patterns available that you can square this up and also turn it on point at that point and then make it into a king size quilt. So there's ways to expand this. Anyway, it's called Christmas Cookie.
And it has little reindeers and these little fussy cut into those little diamonds.
Yeah, it definitely does. So, all right. So Sue Heron said, did you see my question from May 5th? I think I found an error. I think I saw it. We have a correction posted. It's probably for the same thing. If it's not, we can touch back with that here in a bit. And so anyway, with that, I think we'll get started on class today.
You can show them what we've got, what we're going to work on by showing them that.
Showing them the piece on the wall?
Yeah.
Okay.
Over here.
Yeah, so let's switch over. So, theoretically, by now, everybody should have gotten their center complete. We're actually zoomed in a little bit on that.
Huh?
Oh,
we can just leave that on it then.
Oh, that says, oh, there we go. All right. So that's the center. And today we're going to be working on, you can show them pointed out, the borders.
So we're going to demonstrate how to do and set up these borders. We're going to demonstrate the 2 different geese combinations, and then how to do all of the cutting, and then we're going to do some curved piecing. So we have curved piecing here, here, and then we join this and turn it into a square block. We have curved piecing here, and then we're going to show you that piece. So there's a lot of cutting that we're going to kind of go through today.
Okay.
All right.
Let's see.
So,
I got to switch my view back. All right, Mom.
all right, everybody. So what I'm going to do is, everybody's got a little bit different colorways. And so we're going to start at the beginning of the pattern. I'm going to roll up my sleeves so I'm constantly not getting them in the way as I roll through all of this stuff. So I just cut out a new layout, which is really cute. And then I have a project all ready to do all of the curve piecing, the paper piecing, and the curve piecing as well. So we're going to switch places with them. I'm going to start showing you what's in, how to do all of the cutting, and then we're going to, and how to bag everything. And then we're going to do all of the, go over the colors, and then start cutting out and doing foundation paper piecing. Okay, so let's get started with the fabrics. All right, so if you guys, some of you may have already done this, because in the last video I went through this as well. In the next 2 videos we do, I'm going to leave all of the cutting and organizing of the fabric totally up to you guys. If you have questions, post them out on our support network for the Box Club, and we'll help you through that, okay? So I've already cut out all of the foundation papers, and I've got all of the fabrics cut to what Quiltster told me to cut it, all the strips. And I've labeled them with the little strips. So if you look, I have the fabrics. It tells me here 1/8 inch strip, and it tells me the number. And so I've got everything organized from B1A all the way down to the very last fabric, which is B8 on that. So let's start right here at the beginning. This quilt takes 4 bags. And we're going to put our stuff in the bags right now because it works really well to just get everything organized. And the first thing it's telling us is to put the Unit B1 and Unit B1R foundation papers in bag 1. And then alongside it, it says, along with the associated foundation papers. I have changed my mind over the years that I like to put all of the templates in one bag. And then when I get all the templates in one bag, I organize them in chronological order. And then we go through the cutting instructions and we pair all the templates up to the fabric. So that's the process we're going to go through today. So I'm not going to put any templates in these bags yet. So bag 2 is unit B2, and you should have 16 papers with unit B2. All right, and so we're going to put these in bag 2. And then we have bag B3, and B3 is one of the ones that actually has a correction on it. If you look at the template numbers, so it says unit B3, the foundation, that's what the foundation papers say. And when you look at the template, it should read unit B3 as far as all of the templates. And Bradley missed that. So I just want you guys to come in here and just realize that that's a B3 template. If you want to mark them, you can, or you can just ignore it and realize that you're going to be using the B3 templates for this, okay?
And I issued a correction for that today, but is it the B3 and the B3-3 and B3-2, or just the?
Yeah, it's both B3-2, and so it's the bottom templates and the top templates, okay. Which it's really, you can't get them mixed up. So anyway, they're right there. And we're going to put that in that bag there. Okay. And now we get to the last bag, which is our template bag. And so what I've done is I've actually gone through and put all the templates. It only tells you to put the T templates in there, but I like to put them all in there, and then I sort through them in the cutting process. So basically, after you get everything cut, you would just slip these in there. The reason I like to do it this way now is because before, when we would try to pair up the templates, we would always have issues where a template would be used with 2 or 3 different units. And so we would have to put it in the first bag, and then when it was ready for the second bag, we would have to move them. And this way just works a lot easier because we're actually pairing it up with the fabrics. Then we put the fabrics into the bags with the templates. And it's a little bit less confusing. So I have my 3 bags here that I'm going to separate all of my fabrics into. And I'm just going to lay them here on my table. And then we're going to start. We're going to keep going through some basic instructions on our pattern. So if you did not already cut out your foundation papers, you should have 2 of the NP 730, and those have that's where the 16B2 and the 8B3 foundation units are. Then you should have 1 sheet with 731, and those are going to be your border units, and then the Geese templates are on there. And then at the top of the page, page 1, you actually have another TP, which is TP 545, and all of the stuff on that template page are actual template layout sheets, and there's 4 single templates on that. And so you have to cut those single templates apart, and then the rest of them are layout sheets. And then if you turn the page, because if you pull all your papers, you're going to find that there's another sheet. And on page 2 at the top, it shows you the last sheet, and that has all of your background templates in it. Okay, so now you know where your templates are. So then the next thing we get into is our fabric chart. If you have Quiltster and you use the Quiltster cutout information, and I'm sure some of the kits had all of that information in it. If you set up your own fabrics for this, then if you did not use Quiltster, then you have to go through and figure out how to assign your fabric numbers to the actual color of the fabric. Okay, so the way you do that is you flip this over and you find this fabric color layout on page 2, and that color layout tells you where all the fabrics are. So my background fabrics at the top are all B8 fabrics. So when I come over, if you know what you want your quilt to look like and you know what color you're using there, then come back to your fabric chart and put a little swatch on the fabric B8 at the bottom. And then if you look at the chart, the next group of fabrics that it talks about is fabric B7. And fabric B7 is the upper part of the background for your geese. And so if you have a fabric B7, which you do, then put a swatch on your fabric chart. Then you have fabric B6, which are all your geese, okay? And you have an A and a B and a C, so you can use 3 different combinations of colors for your geese, and which we did do in this pattern, all right? And then we have, so you're going to put those. So just keep following up that fabric chart there, right? Something I do want to explain to you guys is if you look at the cover sheet that you have, I'm just going to kind of go through a couple things here. There's a cover sheet, or there's a quilt that says hydrangea on there, okay? So it has fabric B8, which is one color. And then if you get into fabric B7 and fabric B5 are the 2 background pieces for the curved geese, and those are one color, okay? So you can separate those colors if you do. And then your geese, you have 3 colors of geese. And then you have a fabric B4, which we have a separate color for fabric B4. And then our fabric B3 is another color. Then we have fabric B2, and we have a B2A and a B2B. Well, that one, we use the same fabric for both B2A and B2B. And then when you get to the bottom of your, it's fabric B1A and B1B, we actually use the same color on those as well. So then I want to bring your attention to the one that says Heather. And if you look at the center, you're going to find that the fabrics are used differently, but the numbers don't change. So on Heather, the very background fabric B8, starting at the background piece on the center part that we're making today, is a light color. And then our fabric B7, which is one of the background pieces for the geese, that is a purple color. And then we have our 3 colors of geese, and then you go to fabric B5, which is a different color. So if you look at the comparison between those, we're actually switching out the colors on that, and you have the ability to do that. You can change those colors around any way you want, and the fabric number will not change for you. And then if you go a little bit further, you have your background. You get into fabric B4, which is one background color. Fabric B5 is another background color. And then you get into the little chevron borders. And on that chevron border, the background A and B are actually, I believe it's B2A and B2B are both cut from the same fabric. But fabric B1A and B1B are 2 colors. So that's where that A and B comes from. So everybody's instructions are the same, but what you assign to those fabric numbers is really important, and you have to understand that everybody can actually make this a little bit different just by moving the colors of their fabric around, all right? The one I'm going to be working on, I actually combined my fabrics. My B4 fabrics and my B3 fabrics are all cut from the same color. And so I didn't separate that out into 2 different color variations. So Anyway, I just wanted you guys to understand that part of how the color works when you're reading that fabric, that color layout at the top. The other thing I would like you guys to do is after you figure out where all your colors are, you get all your fabric numbers, your swatches on the front page so that you can go back and reference that. Then I want you to quickly go through your pattern and in the cutting instructions, and don't worry about reading any of the cutting instructions to do what I'm going to tell you right now. I want you to just find the color for fabric B1A and put a fabric swatch right there in that section. And then you're going to put a fabric swatch for B1B. And the reason you want to do that is because if you have two different colors there, then now you'll know which color goes with which set of templates. If you're only doing one color, you can actually cut those template pieces together. And so mine are actually one color, so I don't have to separate those out. I can cut them all at one time, all right? It's the same way with B2A and B2B. If you have two colors on that, you're going to want to put a swatch on each one of those so that you know which fabrics go with which set of templates, because the templates are the same for those colors. We just wanted to divide them so that you could keep them separate with the different color variations. And then I go back through with my background, and it's the same way. I want to go through and put these fabric swatches because I have templates under the fabric B4 that look just like the templates that are setting under fabric B8. And so by putting those swatches there, it keeps me from getting those templates mixed up with the fabric pieces that they have. All right, so those swatches are really helpful for this. Okay, so let's move now to the actual sorting the templates onto the fabric. So I have set all of my fabrics up in order from B1A all the way down to fabric B8, all right? So we're just gonna follow through the cutting. And I'm not going to cut anything out of these fabrics because I already have it cut in my other one so that I didn't have to take the time to do the cutting. But we're going to sort anyway, just so you remember how we sort. I'm going to take fabric B1A, and I have all my templates, and I'm just going to pull them out of my bag for now. And I'm going to read right there, and it tells me that I need template layout sheet number 1 and number 2. So I have a number 1 and a number 2. I have 2 template layout sheets here for each one of those, but I'm only going to work with one because I have to use those template layout sheets on the other color too. So I'm going to take one of the number 2 and one of number 1, okay? And then we kind of missed a little note there at the top because you also have to have your B1R-1 template. So what's going on?
Oh my. Just go ahead.
Okay, nothing's going on. So I'm going to look through these single templates here. And so right here, it tells me I need my B1R, and right here it tells me I need my B1L. And I should have had those listed up here as a B1R-R and a B1-L. So you're going to have to look a little bit to find those 2 templates. And I have them both right here. So I'm going to clip the B1L template with my template layout sheet number 1, and then I'm going to clip the B1R template. Actually, I'm going to do just the opposite because of the way the shape the templates are. You have to cut the B1R out on the same strip as your B1A, and then this one's going to go here. So right now I'm reading the pictures. So you have to go through and you have to read the instructions, but you also have to read the pictures, okay? And if I'm reading these, it's also going to tell me that I'm going to subcut these into 2 4-inch strips. And so that's what I'm going to do right now. I'm just going to take this and I'm going to grab my ruler right here, and I'm going to place it right on this line, and we're going to go 1, 2, 3, 4. And is it 2 4-inch strips? Yep, it says 2 4-inch strips. I actually cut a wider strip that I need. So how wide is my strip? I think I cut it 9 inches. So I'm just going to cut these strips at 4.5 inches. And now it tells me to separate those templates. And we have this template, and this is my B1L, so I'm going to put it with one set of those strips, and then I'm going to put these 2 templates with the other set. I'm not going to do any cutting for you guys today because I've been through the cutting on the last one, and I have everything cut out for what we're going to demo. So we're just going to take these pieces and we're going to slip them. If I go back through here, it's going to tell me at the bottom that I have to put them into bag B1. And I am going to show you guys, I like to go through and highlight all my bag numbers. Wherever it tells me what my bag numbers are, I like to highlight that information so when I'm skimming over, I can find my bags really easy. Okay, so now then the next strip, did I put both of those strips in there? Oh yeah, I did, because I was supposed to. Okay, so my next piece right here, it tells me this is fabric B1B. That's what my sticker says. And again, I'm going to cut this at 4 inches. And so we're going to come in here. We're going to cut it in half. And then now I have my 2 strips. So it tells me to put one of these templates with the first strip. And then the other template goes with the second strip. And then we'll find what bag number it tells us, and it says both of them go into bag B1. Bag B1. So one of the things it's telling us to do is to take our pieces and clip them to the foundation papers. And I want to show you what I mean when I say that. So let's go back to this bag. So I have my B1L foundation papers, and these were my B1L pieces right here, and these are my B1R pieces. So it told me to do that in the first one, and then in this other group it wants my B1R pieces with the foundation papers for B1R, and then these pieces are going to be clipped to my B1L pieces. So now when I get back in here to continue with this, I don't have to try to figure out which templates go which with each one. All I have to do is look at my papers, and I don't have to do a lot of reading on them. But now I have them all sorted out where they're supposed to be cut. And I do this a lot because I don't like to go through and cut everything out and then put it in a whole bunch of bags with the individual pieces. I like to keep them like that because it doesn't take very long to cut it when I'm ready to work on this bag. So this bag is basically complete as far as getting everything sorted. So now we're going to come over here. We have B2. Oh, actually, it's not complete. We have to put these colors in it too, which we're going to do. So on these, it tells me to do a subcut of 4 inches on these 2 as well. And I have my B1A fabric. So we're going to subcut that one. So 1, 2, 3, 4. So I have my 2 fabrics there, and let's go ahead and subcut the next one. This is my B2B fabric. Now these could be 2 different colors, or they can be the same color. And we're going to look to see what bags, and these go into bags B1 as well, and bag B1 as well. Okay, and the templates I'm looking for on the first one says I'm looking for template layout sheet number 3 and number 4. So I have 2 number 3s. So I'm going to put a number 3 with that one, and then I have a number 4, and that's this one, and I have 2 of those, so I'm going to put the number 4 with that one. And then we're going to go to the next color, which is telling me that I have B13 goes with one of them, and B14 goes with the other strip. Okay, and they're both going into bag B1. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to look at this. This is a left and this is a left. So we're going to clip these onto this group right here. And these are the right templates. And we're going to clip these 2. They're both left ones. Or no, actually these are rights. And they go with the right papers. Okay. Now we're complete. Okay, so now we're up to fabric B3, and fabric B3 uses template B1, so let's just fold it up. We're not going to cut it out. It doesn't tell me to do any sub-cutting on it, so we're going to, and it says this goes back into my bag B4, so let's go ahead and slip that in there right now. Okay. And now we're going to go to fabric B4, and B4, I'm supposed to have 4 6-inch strips, which I do. There's no sub-cutting on there, so we're going to find the template pieces. Oh, look at, I forgot these little templates. These go, we'll come back and I'll show you where those go. So I'm looking for B2 template. 2 template B2 and B3. This is template B3. Okay, so this is actually a template layout sheet. All right. And so when you look at this, it had dashed lines all the way around, and you just keep this as one big template. And that way, when you set this on here, all you have to do is flip the template. If I had this whole piece open, you would just take this and you'd stack your fabrics, and then you would flip it and get the rest of it. So you don't cut this apart. This is what we call a T-template layout sheet. So I'm just going to take this and I'm going to put the template inside the fabric like that. And then it tells us to put this back into bag B4 as well. Now we're at fabric B5. And we have 2 13.5-inch strips, and then it says to subcut them into 2 6.25-inch strips. So is that 6.25? No, into 6 4.5-inch strips. no, I gotta read right. So I need to cut these into 4.5-inch strips. So let's measure 4.5. And it doesn't look like we're gonna have leftover, so we've got to cut it exact. And then we're gonna do that again. 4.5. Okay, and now it tells me that I want to restack the strips, and I want to put 4 strips together facing right side up, which I'm going to do that right now, because if I don't, I'll probably cut through them the wrong way. So we're just going to stack all 4 strips. And then I'm just going to fold them together like this. And then it says to do a set of 2 strips. Okay, and so on the position the 2 strips, or 2 of the B2 template layout sheet number 5, onto the stack with the 4 strips. So we have B2 template layout sheet number 5, and we have 2 of them. So it says to pair them with this one. And we're not going to cut them out right now. We're just going to pair that. And then underneath there it says Unit B3 template layout sheet number 6 is paired with 2 strips. So we'll just pair these with the 2 strips like this. And then it goes through all of the cutting instructions. And at the bottom it tells me here that they both go into bag. Well, you have a couple different bags here. So we place the B2 fabrics pieces into bag B2. So let's look for the B2 ones, which are right here. And it says these go into bag B2. And then the unit B3, and this is where your B3 templates come from, where we were talking about where it's written incorrectly on the template, but the templates are actually labeled B3. And these go into with my unit B3. So they're going to go into this bag. All right. And we're going to look for any little straggler templates before I go on. And I don't think there is any. Okay. So now we're over to the 3 Geese ones. And this is fabric B6, A, B, C, and D. Okay. And we don't have to do any subcutting. All we have to do is just separate out all of the fabrics on these. And when we're all done cutting, it's going to tell me that I have to put part of them in bag B2 and part of them in bag B3. So I want to show you how I do this. So we're going to actually take all of these strips and we're going to open them up. And it tells me I can get 3 cuts off of that. And so I have 3 templates. So I'm going to use one template with this color. And we're going to put some repositionable glue on that one. Okay. And then I'm just going to take and slice this off like that. And it tells me to do 3 cuts. So there's one group. And actually, if I'm not sure it tells me to do this. I'd have to read it. Because you have one extra one. This is going to give you 9 strips. And we only need 8. So let's go ahead and pull one of these off. I don't think it tells you to pull it off. It's not a big deal to cut it. But I know we'll have an extra one. So I'm just going to cut it off. Pull it out right now. So that now I have 8 layers under here. Like it says instead of the 9. And we're going to put paper clips on each one of the geese sections. And then if I look down here, it tells me to cut them apart and put 2 of them in one bag and 3 in the other, or 4 in the other one. So I put 4 of them. So I'm just going to cut right on this line. And I have 2 here, and these go in my bag B3. So I'm going to slip those in bag B3. I'm not going to cut them apart. And these 4 go into bag B2. Okay, and we're going to do that with the rest of these, because otherwise I can't split them up and get them sorted at this, and ready to just pick up a bag. So it's easier to do some of this in the sorting process of cutting. So we'll go here. And then we're going to put repositional glue. And we're going to cut the next one. And then we're going to pull one off. That will leave me with 8 pieces. Paper clip. Then we're going to cut 2 of them off. And these 2 go in bag B3, and the 4 go in bag B4. And we're going to do that one more time. Once you get all of the cutting sorted, you really don't have to have these little paper pieces anymore. So if they go in the garbage, that's fine. Let's pair it up like this. Pair this one up. Put some repositional glue on the last template here. Pull one of these off. You can see that I'm not cutting extremely accurately because I'm giving you extra room with all of these template pieces. We take into account that you have lots of layers of fabric that you're cutting, and sometimes they slide just a little bit. And if you end up with a piece that you just can't get to fit, remember you have some little leftover pieces here. And remember, we're going to cut 2 off, and these go into bag B3, and these go into bag B2. All right? So now we're at fabric B7. So B7, when I'm looking at it, it's going to tell me to cut these into 4.5-inch strips. So I need 3 4.5-inch strips from this one. So we're at 4.5 right here. And then we're going to do 4.5 again. And then we have to sort these into a group of 4 and a group of 2. And the reason for that is they're doing 16 geese for the B3 unit, and you're doing 8 geese for the B3 unit. And those geese are opposite of each other, so you can't get them mixed up. Now, one thing I want to bring to your attention, which I will here in just a second, is that if you're using 2 colors, you've got to be pretty careful. You're going to end up with 2 different colors in each bag that you're working with. So that's put 2 more with this. And this one goes here. So that's my 4, and these are the 2. Okay, so the 4 pieces position unit B2 template layout sheet number 8, and we have 2 of those, and they go with this set right here. And that's number 8 and number 8. And then these 2 go with template layout sheet number 9. And these go into bag B3. All right, so we're going to stop and explain something to you. So I'm going to pull the foundation papers out for both of these, because a lot of people make mistakes with this. So the B2 pieces, so let's just lay them out like this, and the B3 goes in here like this, right? If I'm using 2 different background colors, then my section B23, the outside piece, this would be like, let's say, blue. And then on unit B3, this is blue on the inside of the arc. And this one would be blue on the outside. So my blue is going to go like this on the inside. And let's say this is yellow. So that would be yellow. On the inside, this one would be yellow for the outside pieces, and this would be yellow. Okay, so many times people make the mistake, they set them all up like this and they chain them all together, and they'll have their blue here, a yellow here, and a yellow here. And when they start using these templates, they feel like all the templates are upside down and that they don't work. Well, it's because you're putting them on wrong. And when you go to put it together, if you do it that way, you're going to have your colors in the center arc is not going to be consistent, and you won't have that rotation of color. And so it's really important to pay attention to that. So what you can do is you can actually come in and you can put little fabric swatches on the different units. So you can put the fabric swatches, check these out with what's in your bag if you have two colors, those two A and B colors, and make sure you have the outside ones here, and then put the fabric swatches on this unit as well, and then lay them out. And now you'll know that when you start cutting or sewing that you're going to have those pieces in the right order. If you have the same color on both sides, you won't notice that. But if you try to chain them together and you don't separate these out into separate units, then everything on B3 is going to seem like you're putting the pieces on upside down. And that's going to cause you an issue, okay? So pay attention to that. It happens all the time for people that are, when the first time they start playing with these geese that go around, or not just geese, but when we have spikes that are basically curved spikes that go around like this all the way around your quilt, all right? So hopefully you didn't do that, but if you did, let us know, because we'll have to send you some more papers. There's really no way to correct it otherwise. So those are my B2. These are going back into B1. All right. So we have one color left, and this one is fabric B8, which is my outside background that I didn't have on the wall up there when we were showing you. But this goes on the outside of your geese and squares up your quilt, right? So this, if we look, it tells me that I need T-template B4R, B4L, B5R, and B5L, and then I need a B6 template, okay? This is my B6 template. All of my other templates are on this template layout sheet, okay? And so it'll tell me how to stack all my fabrics and then cut all of this out. And I'm actually going to show you how to do that with the other colors, the ones that I prepared for that. So for now, all we have to do is just take these pieces and put them with the fabric. And this tells me to put these pieces in bag B4. So let's go ahead and put them in bag B4. So as we were doing this, I have these little templates left over. So where did I forget to put them? Well, these were some of those little straggler templates that I did not list up here at the top. And they go with fabric B2A, all right? So that means that they're going to go into bag B1. And I want to put one of them with each set of templates. So I'm going to have a left and a right. And so that's where these go. So we're going to go in here, and we're going to find fabric B2A in this group. This template layout sheet number 3 and 4. So that's an 8. This is template layout sheet 5. Template layout sheet. Oh, I'm in the wrong bag. Told me bag B1. See, you guys should have known that. All right, so we need to be in this bag. Bag B1. And these go with template layout sheet. I have template layout sheet number 3 is the B4L, so that's my number 2. And this one is template layout sheet number 4. I think there's the pile I need right here. Template layout sheet number 1. This template layout sheet number 2. Template layout sheet, there they are. So it's the green fabric that I forgot to put them on. So we'll flip this over. And now we'll find template layout sheet number 3. So this is 4. And so template layout sheet number 4 has the B1R, which is this piece. Okay. So we can put these back together. And I'm going to take and put a big clip on this stack. Just helps it stay together a little bit better. There we go. And then this one here goes with this green right here. And it goes with template layout sheet number 3. There we go. Okay, so we have all the cutting done now. We have everything sorted into the bags. So we're going to start doing some sewing. And so we're going to get rid of this ruler. We don't need it now. And I'm going to actually take all of these pieces along with this colorway and set those aside. And we're going to come back to we're going to flip the pages here, and we're going to start the paper piecing. It actually tells us to start with the geese, so we're not going to do this one. Let's go ahead and do the geese like it says. So I have a couple of these done, but there's all my pieces. There's all of my geese, or the colors for the geese. So this group is my B3 group, and the stacking, so I have the stacking set up there as well, okay? The stacking is the same for both of them, so let's just go ahead and do one set, since we're only going to do we only are going to do a short segment on this. Okay, and then we're going to take these. Well, I had two colors under there. That's all right. They still cut right on where they were supposed to. So each one of these stacks gives me 4 pieces. And this one. Okay. And if I look at my foundation papers here, My very last section is section 11, and it actually has section 11 written on the template there. So find your section 11 and place the sew side so it's away from you. And then the next section number is section 17. So I haven't cut those yet, so let's go over here. And we're going to cut this group. I need to put some paper clips on it. I like to put the paper clips on before I cut, because then that doesn't move as bad. You guys must be following along pretty good today. I'm not getting a lot of questions. Okay, so now this one is my section 17, which is right here. And then what I want to do is my geese. This is my A, my B, C, A, B, C. So you can just write that on there. So then I'm going to find the fabric that is C, which is this one, because I had it labeled. And so 17, and now we're going to go to background number 15. That's my 15. And then we go to 14. And then we're going to go to a B. And then we're going to go to, after 14, then we had our geese, 13. This is 12. And then we're looking for 11. And then we're going to find a C color again. And then we want to go to section 6. No, we want to do 9 first. There's 9. And then over here, we're looking for an 8. And then we're looking for our... This is my A color. I must have forgot a color in here, you guys. Did you notice that? So there's my first 3. I'm just going to clip those 3 together. And then we go to this. This was my B. That's my next color group. Aha, there it is right there. I should have an A there, which is right here. Okay, and then we start over with my C color again, and then we do 6 and 5, and then we put a B color on it, which is this one, and then we have section 3 and 2 and 1, which is an A color. Okay, so now I have all of these stacked and ready to go. I think I would just go through and make this set, and then I would come back and stack everything in bag B2, and I would make this set. Sometimes I like to set them both up and make them at the same time. The issue with this type of trying to do this set and this set is you're going to be picking pieces up wrong all the time, because you'll pick them up off the wrong stack and they look the same. So it's just easier to do one stack at a time, all right? So we're going to get you started, and in our instructions, the very first thing for foundation paper piecing, it tells you to trace the dashed lines. And I don't have my light table today with me. I loaned it to a group of students. So we have, I want you to look at your papers, and you're going to find these dashed lines. And I want you to mark the papers on the back on line 3, dash line 6, dash line 9, dash line 12, and dash line 15. So by doing that, because I don't have a light table, I'm just going to crease that line, and I'm going to crease this line, crease this line, this one, and this one. Okay, and then we're going to find a pen, and we're going to mark all of those, because otherwise all those creases will disappear when we actually do our iron. Do you see what I'm doing there? I'm going to do one that's just a little bit, I'm going to do that a little bit darker on the next one. All right. So actually, I wonder, since I don't have my, I forgot about my thing, I'm just going to hold it up to the light, and then I can see those lines. That won't take as long. That's why you want a light table right next to your table. So don't loan it to other students when you're doing a video. And I know some of you are wondering why I'm doing this, but this really speeds up the process of making your flying geese. You can take this job from a 4-hour job to an hour job just by having these straight lines. Okay, so see how I have all those lines? So let's go over those lines again. Those are line 3, line 6, you have line 9, and it's the dashed line, it's not your sew line, line 12, and line 15. Okay. So all of my fabrics are the same color, so I don't have to number my papers. And so we're going to just start the paper piecing process. Here's my section 1, and the very first piece is going to be this color right here. And I cut extra because I didn't pull all those sheets out, so I'm going to have leftover pieces. Let's find our repositionable glue. And you want to put the repositionable glue just under section 1. Don't get it under section 2 or 3. And you're going to place, so I've got the wrong side of the paper at the wrong side of the fabric are glued together. If you look, the back side, the fabric is, that's the right side of the fabric. This is what we call the right side of the paper. Then we're going to take the next one, and we're going to do the same thing. So we're going to find section 1, put some glue on it, and glue that on. We're going to take the next one, put the glue on it, glue it in place. So we're gluing the wrong side of the fabric to the wrong side of the paper. If you have your light table, you would be able to tell that you have this under the geese area on your quilt or on your paper just by working off your light table. That's one of the nice things, and having a light table for your geese is going to be really, really helpful for you. All right, so now I'm going to find line 1, and we're going to place the fold template on line 1. And now I'm on the solid line, okay? We're gonna fold back the foundation paper and we're trim a 1/4 inch seam allowance. And then we're going to just crease the paper and set it to the side. We're gonna do the next one. Fold template on solid line 1, fold back the paper, add a 1/4, trim, crease the paper, and stack. Place it on line 1, fold back the paper, trim, crease it, and stack it. And then we're going to the very last piece. All right, so now I have all of my pieces. I'm going to grab the next section, because if I look, I'm working with section 2 now. And so there's my section 2. Now you can see why I actually drew those lines, because now I know exactly where section 2 is, which is right here. 2. And I have to have fabric that covers my paper plus the seam allowance. So we're going to take these pieces. There's my sew side. Don't get rid of the sew side. We need to know what the sew side is, because if I flip this around, these other edges are not big enough and it won't cover. So you have to know which is your sew side. So this is my sew side. I'm going to just lay this and I'm going to center it on there. I can tell I have fabric past this line, past the bottom, and that's all I need to know. If I want to glue this, let's go ahead before you put it on there and run just a little bit of glue along that edge. And there you go. And then we're going to do that again. Place that on. Let's put a little bit of glue kind of there in the center, and then we're going to place it. As long as you have fabric past this point, which I do, fabric here, these pieces are plenty big. If you put these on backwards, upside down, they're too small, and then you get upset at me because I didn't give you a big enough template. If you follow and use the sew side, then you don't get mad at me, because you know your template's the right size, it's plenty big. Okay, so we can get rid of that template now, and we can go to our machine. And I'm gonna flip it this way so that when I open this up, oh, here comes the dog. He decided to come in. He knows how to open doors. Okay, so I'm gonna set my stitch length at about, I'm probably 1.8. Actually, I'm gonna go to 1.7, just because we're gonna be doing a lot of trimming on these short seams, okay? And the other thing I want to point out is my sew line. This is sew line 1. I'm gonna start sewing about 3 stitches before the dashed line that's parallel to line 2, okay? So can you guys see where my pen is pointing? It's going to be, I'm going to start sewing right up there on each piece.
Hold on, you do have a question.
Okay.
Someone said, can you tell us a little bit more about the repositionable glue? I am going to tell you guys, box 3 has repositionable glue in it, so everyone should be cheering. So when you get your box 3, you'll get a or you'll get one of these little glue sticks in there. But
yeah, I'll actually explain all 3 glues right now. Okay, so for 25 years I used the Yoo-Hoo glue on the very first piece of paper, and it works. It's a lot cheaper than the repositionable, and it lasts a lot longer, but it's harder to get the paper off. So once it's, if you hit the paper with the iron after you glue it, it's gonna bake that paper and glue together, and then the only way to get it off is to scrape it off or spray it with some liquid and then scrape it off. Okay, so it always leaves you a little mark. A lot of people still use it, which is fine. Even I still use it. I don't have a big issue with it. I know not to use too much. If you don't want it to bake it, then what you do before you go to the iron is you pull it apart after you take it off, and you're only using it on the one piece. You just pull it apart before you go to the iron, and then you don't bake it together, and then you don't have the issue of it sticky. Okay?
And I especially like the Yoo-hoo glue stick on long pieces
because it does hold better.
It holds better.
Yeah. So then we were introduced to repositionable glue. And repositionable glue works really, really nice for the very first piece as well, as long as it's not like a really long piece. You have to be careful with repositionable glue because it's made to pull on and off, and so therefore it does gum up your machine, gets repositionable glue on your sewing plate here, and but when you iron it, it doesn't bake it on, and so it always comes off really clean. And so when we're working with light fabrics, a lot of us use the repositionable glue now, because if we forget to pull it apart and we don't want to bake that and have that excess paper on there, the repositionable glue takes care of that issue. But you will have to constantly keep wiping down the back of your foot, the underneath part of your foot, because if you get it off of this section, then it's going to leave a big mess, and then if the pressure foot hits a piece of paper that has that on there, then it just stops sewing because it's gonna grab the metal foot. So it has its downfall, but it has a lot of pluses too. All right, and then you have your your fabric glue stick, which I use to glue my fabrics together, to my curved seams together. But if I use it for the paper, and if I'm only doing one or two, it works just fine, because once it dries, it falls off, and it works pretty good for that. However, it's very expensive. So I can get, 500 foundation paper piece units out of this glue stick here. I can get probably 250 out of this one, and I can probably get 50 out of this one. So,
and we gave you a Yoo-hoo and the one she has in her hand, the sew line version, in the first box.
Yeah.
And then we'll give you repositionable glue in the second box, or in the box 3. This time I think you got thread and a purple thing. So
anyway, they all have a plus and a minus to them, but we use all three of them all the time. So you have to use the ones, try them all, and then use the one you want to use. And if you're okay with using the fabric glue stick and replacing it, for every quilt you go through about 10 tubes, then do it. If you want the Yoo-hoo and you want to make it last longer, then that's going to last you a long time, and this one will last you somewhere in between. All right, but we do use this on the back of our template layout sheets a lot, because then it comes off and we don't have to worry about the Yoo-hoo. We can't use the Yoo-hoo on the back of the template layout sheets. All right, that's what the difference is. So now we're going to go back to sewing.
She says thank you.
You're welcome.
Extremely helpful.
That's why we're here. Okay, so we're going to sew on line 1. And I'm going to start about 3 stitches before line 1. So just on the top side of the dashed line for line 2 is where I'm going to start sewing. And I'm on the solid line. And I am using about a 1.7 on this machine, just because it's curved piecing, and when you start doing your curved piecing, if your stitches are too loose, they're going to back off about a ½ an inch or so on you. So I like to keep a tighter stitch when I'm working with curved units. Now I'm just going to pick up the next one I'm going to lift my pressure foot, slide that down, and sew again. This is called chain piecing, and then we're going to do this again. Some people prefer to use their thread cutters on their machine instead of doing chain piecing, and that's your option. I like to do the chain piecing and save my thread cutters for pieces that need a thread cutter, where this doesn't really matter. I can chain 50 of these pieces together. All right, now we're going to come back, and I think my stitch is a little tight, and see how I can tell is because just by picking it up it tore my paper. So I'm going to go up 1 stitch. So you're going to have to judge that a little bit on your machine. So now I'm going to come in here and I'm going to cut my threads in between. I don't have to cut them really close because that's going to get cut off when I start doing my fold back and trim. Okay, so now I have all my papers here, and we're going to go to the iron. And the fabric that I'm using here, I don't know if I have my acorn. I think I stole it the other day. So I'm not going to use the acorn today. We're just going to take the steam iron and I'm just going to do a quick finger press on these to open up those seams. And then we're going to hit it with an iron. And I'm going to press the iron into the seam. Okay, so I have them all ironed. Now we're going to flip them over. And we're going to place the fold template on line 2. And it's the solid line. You're going to fold back the paper, but you have to bring the fabric with it. So you're going to want a fold template that's long enough that you can fold all along the whole paper there, okay? You're going to bring that fabric because I sewed past that dashed line. Then I'm going to hold on to that fabric and I'm going to tear it back, and it's going to tear a little hole right there. But now when I put my add a quarter ruler on there, it cuts all my threads. And I don't have a million threads on the back that I'm sewing into the next seam. All right, so we're going to trim that and we're going to leave it folded back.
You have a question. It says, are you pressing the seam open or to one side? You
can't press it like in garment sewing. When they say open, they mean that you're actually pressing everything open. When you're doing paper piecing or quilt paper piecing, you can only press it to this side. It only presses one way. So what you're actually doing is you're pressing your fabrics to an open position instead of that. You're not trying to press the seam because you can't press the seam open. You're just pressing your fabrics to an open position. And that's what that term is press the seam open, because this would be a closed and this one is open, because that's the only way you can press. So it opened up the fabric and put it in position. All right. So, okay. So we're going to take this and we're going to put it on line 2, fold it back, tear it so the fabric lays flat, and trim. And then we're just going to crease it, and I'm going to pull that thread out that I just cut. Then we're going to take the next piece put it on line 2, fold it back, crease the paper the whole length, grab that fabric, tear it, and then you're going to take your add a quarter ruler and get rid of the thread in the fabric. Place it on line 2, the solid line, fold back, tear that back so that your fabric lays flat. Put the add a quarter ruler on. That cuts your thread. Sometimes you'll end up with a little piece of thread that's hanging in there. Just pull it out, get rid of it. Okay, so now I have everything trimmed with the add a quarter. Now we're going to take section 3 template, and there's my sew side right there. I'm going to put my pieces right there so I can see my sew side. And then we're going to pick this up. See where my line is? So that's what I have to cover, is that paper plus and line it up to my fabric. Okay, so this is my sew side lines up to there. So I'm just going to pick up this first piece and we're going to place it on there. I'm going to put my finger right where that line is, and I want to set that about 1/4 of an inch from that edge is where I'm going to place that line, about 1/4 of an inch from that edge. So we're going to go like this. We're going to match the sew side. So you should have excess falling down here at the bottom. As long as that line has about 1/4 of an inch past it, if I fold it back, then it's going to fit perfectly underneath there. All right. And then we're going to take the next piece. I'm going to glue these because I'm not working at a flat sewing surface. So let's take that, and then I'm going to take the next one. I'm going to put a little bit of glue along, and then we're going to take this, put my finger on that line, set it in about 1/4 of an inch from this edge, and line up the sew side. Put the next piece on. Put a little bit of glue here. Find that line, position that 1/4 of an inch from the edge of the fabric here, and match the sew side. If you get this way down here and try to match up the points down there, when you open this up after you sew, it won't cover, okay? And you'll be trimming off all of that fabric there that we cut to fit underneath there. So make sure that you put your finger on that line and place it about 1/4 of an inch from this edge. All right, we're going to quickly sew those pieces. And I'm going to start down here, so I'm going to turn my paper, so all I have to do is pick it up, and we're got the fabric glued to it. We're going to place it on line 2, and we're going to sew all the way past the end of line 3 and stop about 3 stitches past the dash line. And then we're going to take the next piece. I'm going to lift my pressure foot, pull this off to the side, open up the next piece, and sew. And then we're going to take the next one. Then we're going to take our chain of fabrics here. We'll put clip between them. And then I'm going to do some finger pressing really quick. I like to open up these seams with my finger when I'm doing the geese. And I just basically start at the top and just roll it down like that. And then I take them to the iron. All right, so we're going to add one more piece, and then we're going to move on to doing some, we're going to cut out the rest of the background, okay? So let me add one more piece. All the geese are done the same way, so I shouldn't have to show you each bag, right? So I'm going to take all of these, let's flip them over like this. We're going to place our fold template on line 3. It's the solid line. We're going to fold it back. We're going to grab the fabric and tear that. And then we put the outer quarter ruler. And we're going to trim. And then we're going to leave that. And we're going to get them all trimmed, stacked, and then we'll come back and add the next fabric. And don't worry if you tear little holes and stuff into the paper. It really doesn't make any difference at all. Okay, so now we're going to take these, and we have our next group of geese, and I'm going to pull those off like that. That's my sew side. So if you look, your fabric seems to be a lot smaller than the width of this, and so what you have to do is center this with your paper. So what I do is hold on to that piece like that, and I just make sure that I have fabric showing. I have dog ears on both sides if I fold back the corner of that fabric under there that's sewn onto the paper. And then I know I have it. And I like to glue these pieces because you have a little lump here at that lump it has a tendency to move away from you. So I can sew all of the edge pieces just fine, but I like to glue these, and then they don't move when I sew over that lump. Then we're going to take the next piece, and I'm just going to put some glue along that edge. I'm going to put my finger on the paper right at both corners. Going to look for my dog ears there. Then we're going to grab the next one. Just kind of fold back this along the paper. Get that centered on there. And now we're ready to sew those. So I'm going to sew these really quick, and then we're going to talk about them for a second. And I'm sewing on line 3, and you're probably going to find yourself sewing from off the paper and back, and then you start off the paper and sew off the paper. The lines don't go that far. Don't worry about it. It's because it's going to tear there anyway. So if you start If you sew all the way across, it's not going to matter. All right, we'll just quickly finger press those. All right, now look at the space between this point and here. These pieces were designed with floating points, okay? So your geese, you're gonna have your background, you're gonna have that background shown in between. And there's about a 1/4 of an inch in between this point and where the next geese starts, all right? And that's the way all of these were designed. So all the points float. You can't lose the point of your geese. The other thing that's kind of cool is you can set up your digitized design. So you can do this side and it'll come over and do this by crossing over in between there. So it works really slick. Not all of our geese are from all of our patterns. They're not all designed that way, but we did do that with this set. Okay. So we're going to take all of these and I'm going to put them back in the bag and finish them up another day. And I'm going to take one of these pieces and trim it for you. Get rid of all this stuff. Okay. So there's several different types of curved rulers. The one I have here today is my leaf ruler, and I'm going to use the leaf ruler to do the curve trimming. I'm going to trim both of my edges, and I can do that with my @1/4 ruler, or I can choose to have something that's a little bit more sturdy, doesn't wobble on me, and go like this. All right, now I'm going to take the curve, and it's going to line up a little bit on this, but not all the way. I'm trying to think. I have another ruler that we have that's called, that we use for our wedding ring, that fits a little bit better than this one. But I just take this and I roll this around. And for some of you, I am using a really big rotary cutter. And so this curve is a pretty tight curve for me to cut with this. So if you have a smaller rotary cutter, you'll probably want to use it when you're doing this. On the outside curves, my big rotary cutter works great. And this actually fits, the radius fits almost perfectly all the way around it on the outside. So this is called our leaf ruler. Just going to move that out a little bit more. And then we're going to start trimming. So the outside radius is almost perfect. And we have another little ruler. And I've never used it with this, but let's look at it. These are these little teeny ones, and we just designed them for some of our other patterns that have really tiny curves. And see, that one's too little, but that one actually would work really, really well on there. In fact, that's almost a perfect radius on there. So those are, Judelle can tell you about those.
Those are the Judy's mini ruler. set. And if you are looking for them, I know a lot of shops carry them as well. It's something that we use with Steampunk Fairy Tale and a few other projects that use kind of a wagon wheel piece in them. But you can also find them on our website under Notions, and it's called Judy's Mini Ruler. Sometimes Elise provides some links, but I don't know that she's on today. So if she's not on, we can do, I can just post a link to it in the Quiltworx Box Club board after the video. So
there's what I'm looking for right here. Okay, so I put all of the geese away. I'm gonna put them back into our box there. And we're gonna cut out these pieces before we do any more paper piecing. So I cut some of these out already, but I wanna just go over how we work with the template, the T-template layout sheets. So we're going to go to page 3 in the instructions, and I have one strip here. I cut the other strip. We were supposed to have 2, and I've already cut one up. So we're going to open up this piece here, and I'm going to put repositionable glue on the back side of this so that I can reuse it. And it tells me to cut 4 pieces from each strip. I'm not going to cut them all perfect the first time. What I'm going to do is come in here and add. I have enough room here on my strip that I can add about a 1/16 of an inch. And then we're going to take this one, we're going to cut that about a 1/16 of an inch larger. And then I'm going to flip it, and we're going to cut the next one. Now you want to check the width of your fabric to make sure you have the playroom that I'm working with right here. And then we're going to take the next one, we're going to flip it again. And I'm not going to worry about it being pressed at this point, because I'm going to go press it when I'm all done, when I get them all stacked. And then we're going to flip it again. So by not having these stacked perfectly, I don't have to worry so much about the fabrics moving just a little bit underneath. I have a little bit of playroom with these. And all of this is cut with right side up. And move this over just a little bit more. There we go. Make sure that I have fabric under all the paper, that none of it moved on me. And it will move a little bit, so then we're going to cut again. Now I'm going to put some paper clips on it, and I'm going to go just press it with my iron on the back to make sure I don't have any wrinkles or anything, and I have all those layers together. Okay. Now I'm going to add a couple more paper clips. And this has some TRP lines right here, okay? I'm just going to sew the TRP lines through all 4 layers right now. So we're going to just come over here.
And TRP stands for Transition and Registration Point. you sew these, they're just marking lines that help you match everything up when you're sewing it together, when you're doing final assembly.
I'm looking for another little ruler. We might have to take a break so I can run and get it, because I really would like to show you something. All right, so I'm going to take this now after I get them sewed together, and now I'm going to trim it down to the perfect size. Okay. And then we're going to take this one. And then I'm going to take this one. Okay. This is my leftover. And I'm going to run just into my other room because there's another little ruler that I really want you guys to see how it works. Give me 1 second.
I'm trying to think what I can entertain you guys with, besides sticking my tongue out. So, somebody asked a question the other day about Quiltster, and they asked about, let's see. They asked me, so in the first video on the Quiltster demo, I said that you could open up a project. So I want to switch over to Quiltster. I'm going to show you that for just a second. So they asked if you could open up a project and see what it was going to, or save out a section of it. And so what I wanted to show you was how you do that. And basically I had said that you could open up a project and then you could work with just the B group on it. So I'm going to go to create new project. We're going to go find our Tuscan Sunset project here. And don't forget, you guys get Quiltster as part of your box subscription. So you can log in and put in your coupon and you don't have to pay for it and you can use it. I'm going to put in create project. There's a blank layout here that you could start with in color, but then down below is all of the colorways that we had in the Quiltworx box. So what I had meant was, if we choose this one here and we're going to name it B group. Oops, I can't spell. Create project. So now, because that's a template, you can go back and open it up and save it out as many times as you want and nothing will happen. But I'm going to call this B group. So I'm going to click on the center. That's our A group. The feathers you already made. I'm going to clear that out. Then I'm going to click on this border and I'm going to clear that out. And I'm going to click on this border and I'm going to clear that out. And now if I go up here and I hit this button that with the black and white, it's like shaded here. I'm going to hit that. That causes all those other pieces to disappear. And now I'm going to save. And now I only have a Quiltster document with the B group in it. So someone was asking that question the other day. I'm just explaining that while we have a second here, like how you get that done. And the nice thing is then when you go to the print page, it will give you just that piece of it and only the yardage for that, for all of the pieces that you're working on. So now you only see the yardage that's in the box that you got. If you want to see the by strips, you can click on by block and you can see all of the strips that we cut. So if you ordered one that was pre-cut, you got yours this way already. If you ordered one that was yardage, you have stickers on it that say B5 to 13.5-inch strips, and you had to do the extra strip cutting to get there. And then you also can see a view by group that go down to the one that has fabrics in it. So this is the block group that you're working on today. And this matches your, excuse me, I'm gonna sneeze. Okay, I held it back. So this matches your unit chart in your pattern. So that is the step process that I was trying to explain in Quiltster demo last time, and somebody asked a question for clarification. So if you've done your own colorway, you can do that with your own colorway as well. Just make sure you duplicate your pattern before you do it. So how do you duplicate it? Let me go back to this for a second. So to duplicate it, there's 3 little buttons here. You can press that and then you can duplicate it. That way you don't delete everything in the pattern that you created, and you can delete your blocks from a new version of the pattern. So that's important if you've created your own colorway. If you're working off a template, you can just go grab the template again and save it out multiple times. So, okay, we're gonna switch back. Mom is back. So, okay, you're back on, Mom.
Okay, so this fabric is my B4 fabric. And this was a template layout sheet before I cut the first 4, so now it's been cut apart. So I just put it back the way it looked like on the template layout sheet. And on this one, what we're doing is we're going to cut along this edge. And you would have 4 pieces underneath this. Yeah, 4 pieces, and I already cut 2 strips. So now this gives me the other 4 layers that I need. But see how I set that up? All I did is I had just cut along that side, and then I brought this in and just flipped it over. You want to double check when you're doing that to make sure that everything is still, that your strips don't vary enough to where you don't get these top pieces. So just make sure you have the room. The layout sheet is not as close, the pieces aren't set as closely together as what I just set these together. So you probably won't have this much fabric left over. All right, so I'm just gonna go through and we're gonna cut these pieces. And here again, these are my templates, my T templates, so I'm going to cut them a little bit bigger right now, and then I'll come back and trim. These have TRP lines on them as well, and so we're going to sew those TRP lines. So I'm going to cut it just a little bit bigger. On this one, I'm going to cut it in between these 2. I'm not going to cut it perfect, okay? And then on this one, I'm going to grab my leaf ruler, and I'm just going to swing on the inside of that, and it almost fits perfect on that curve. Okay, so instead of cutting these apart, I'm going to sew my TRP lines on both of these, and then I'll come and finish trimming. Okay, so now this is when I would come in and I would continue to trim them out. However, since I'm going to put this in a bag, I'm not going to finish trimming these because if I do, they start fraying along the edges. And so by having this little bit of excess, I can come back and clean it all with a really nice cut right before I'm ready to put them on. But I do want to show you what you can do with your TRPs, because we sewed through 4 layers, and these are actually the centers and line up to the middle of your geese blocks, which I do want to show you something about those. I grabbed this one. On the geese, there is an actual TRP line right in the center of these. You probably don't need to sew that. It's really hard to see because it's right on a sew line, because this piece right here falls perfectly in the center. So as long as you're looking for the center, you can just run it right along that geese there. And so that would actually fit right along this there. And so you can avoid yourself a little bit of extra sewing there by not sewing those, and just use that as your center piece there. In order to see the lines, because I'm using a soft cotton, and once I pull those threads out, I'm not going to be able to see the holes like I can when I'm working with a batik. And so I just take and put a pencil mark on the back of that TRP line, and then I can flip it over and I can mark the back right along the edge of the fabric on the next one. Because this is a dark fabric, my pencil's not going to show. If I was working with black, I would use a white chalk. So now I've got all 4 of these marked, so when I pull that thread out, I will still know exactly where the center of this has to set. All right, so we're just going to fold these up and put them back in the bag, and I'll continue with that later. So let's go to this next one. We'll put these back in the bag as well. I'll put these back on the wall. So this is another one of those template layout sheets. So what I like to do is I'm going to come in here and I'm going to very carefully cut basically just between these 2 pieces here, and then I'm going to separate this. And you may have to grab a little pair of scissors to finish that separation there. Okay, before I pull this off, I'm going to go and sew the TRP lines. And then I'm just going to clean this piece up a little bit. And we're going to sew the TRP lines on this piece as well before we do any trimming. Okay, so if I look at this, this is template, T-template B5R, this is B5L, this is B4R, and this is B4L. So I have to have each one of these. So I'm going to go ahead and show you how I trim in order to show you how to assemble. And I'm going to cut the threads off my TRP lines before I trim. Okay, so first of all, I'm going to take my curved ruler and I'm going to put it right on here like this. It's very cool. Considering the fact that this pattern was designed 4 years before the ruler, it's a pretty good fit. So we're going to use the ruler. And all I had to do is just adjust it just a hair. Okay. And then we're going to do the other curve onto this side. Okay. Now we're going to take the ruler and we're going to do this edge. Now, the ruler that I have does have a little bit of a sticky surface on the back side of it. And so it will stick to your paper if you want it. I usually use the side that allows me to actually go through and slide. And I'm kind of wondering if our rulers did have the sticky. Do you know if they do? I can't remember. I might be wrong on that one. It's been a long time since I've opened up a new one. Okay, so let's take these now and we're just gonna trim right on the line there. And then we're gonna trim right on this line. Bradley lines these templates up for us in CAD, so it makes it really easy for us to cut. And we're just gonna make sure that's laying flat. My paper's a little bit wrinkled, that's why I'm sliding that on there. And now I'm going to cut. The first line is going to be on this one. And then I'm going to slide it over and cut on the second line. And I have those pieces done. So one of the advantages of sewing those TRP lines before you cut them out is your paper's on there. I'm going to put a little bit of glue on the back side of this because it's wrinkly right along that end there. And I'm going to run just a little bit right there so that that lays flat. And then we're going to do the same thing. And remember, when you're putting your T-templates on, they do go on the front side of the fabric, okay? So the T-template is actually the right side of your fabric. That confuses a lot of people when they're working with batiks because it's hard to tell the front and the back side. But if you're working with fabrics that have a right and a wrong side, it's pretty easy to realize what the template's doing. Just going to carefully cut those ends there. Oh, you know what I just did, you guys, if none of you notice it? I just cut my seam allowance off. I lined it up on the wrong line. Don't do that. So now I gotta go cut another piece for it. But I can do that another day. I slipped it and I put it on the wrong line when I was cutting. So watch out for that. It happens. More than I'd like to say. All right. So this one's good, this one's good, this one's good. And we're going to pretend that this one's good, but we know it's not. All right. All right, so we're going to take that. And now I'm going to show you on this. I went in and I picked up this ruler. It's called a deluxe corner trimmer. And what you can do is, like, we have smart corners, but they're only slanted one direction. And when people are using batiks, a lot of times they'll flip their pieces not realizing they flipped it, and now all their smart corners are backwards. So if you take this little ruler, and they've been on the market since back in the 90s. It's a ruler from Marty Michelle. And we just take that and put it right there at the end, and we double cut those smart corners. And now it won't matter whether I flip my piece over. If it was a batik, my smart corner is going to work no matter what. Okay, this is a ruler that we use over and over and over again, and you can use it for all traditional angles, such as your 90 degree, a 53.5, a 60, a 120, a 135, and a 45. It's a great tool. All right, so we have that piece cut, and we have this piece. So we're going to go back to the wall, and I'm going to show you how this lays out. Then we're going to do our curved piecing. And if we have time, then we'll come back and do a little bit more paper piecing on the B1 and B2 unit. If we run out of time, then you guys will have to just get started with these. They're very simple to do, but I can show you a few tricks with it. But let's go ahead and let's get into curved piecing right now. So Jadal's going to move that camera again. And I'm going to mark this so I don't forget.
If you guys accidentally do that, trim off that seam allowance like she did, just call us, and we have fabric. I saved a little bit of extra of everything, so we should at least be able to help you fix mistakes or whatever, and you can just buy a little extra yardage and we'll send it to you in the mail. And then
the price of our mistakes.
It happens all the time. So in fact, I helped somebody just the other day replace a piece, and I almost wonder if that's the one she did it on.
Yeah, it's pretty easy to do. Okay, so we need to get our instructions on how we set this up. And so my B5L template is actually going to go right here.
Someone said, can you tell us again the name of the ruler Judy's using to cut the smart corners? It's by Marty Michelle, and we also have those on our website. It's called the Deluxe Corner Trimmer and Hand Piecing Aid from Marty Michelle. So the link that we provided earlier for the little tiny mini rulers, that goes to our Notions page. You can also find this ruler there close to that as well. Somewhere on a Notions page for us, we sell it quite a bit. So you can also just find it in most quilt stores and online anywhere.
So I want you guys to notice that I'm actually pinning these on in place with the paper template on them, because that way I know that I'm following my instructions, and if I'm working with batiks, I'm not going to flip them over, and I'm going to get them paired up to the right pieces. Another pin.
Just for your reference, it's 308.
Okay. All right. So that looks weird to me. Oh. So B4R is right there. Do I have my geese on there in the wrong way? So my template looks right. Oh, I must, oh, I do. I have these wrong. Can you guys see what I did wrong? I do. It takes a while. I have to get these on the corner here. That's why you read instructions instead of letting your mind tell you how to do something. So I'm going to actually take my instructions and pin them right here. And what I'm doing is this one, because here's my square, okay? So I need to move this piece down here. So what I did is I built it somewhat correct, but I need this section on that side. And so this piece is going to go here. So it'll be easier if I lay it out the way that this looks right here. And this one's going to go here. And then this piece goes over here. This one is like that. And this one comes in here like this. And then this piece comes in here like this. So I should have put this on the wall at an angle to get these to go together. And then this piece comes in here like this. All right, so then this piece comes in here like this. This one is here. Down a little bit. This piece goes here. This goes here. All right, can you see the way that's looking now? So if you put this on the wall, you really should put it at an angle instead of at the square, because in order to square it up, it has to turn it for you. All right? And then when you put the queen border on, it turns again. and I was looking at the whole thing and the whole big picture, but I should have put it on the wall the way these instructions show me. All right, so now we are actually going to look at the back page, and that's what it's going to look like if you look at the back page. So I basically have this corner, I have it like this is the way I have it set up on the wall. All right, it would have been easier if I just looked at that picture first. So now what we want to do is we're going to do the curved piecing. I already did the curved piecing on that, so I'm going to do the curved piecing on this unit, and then I'm going to do the curved piecing on this unit for you guys. So we're going to take these two pieces, and I didn't pull the paper off of this unit yet because I wanted to show you guys. This is a pretty, the radius on this curve is pretty tight, okay? It fits properly the way it's supposed to, but you're not going to get this to roll around with the paper on. You have to remove the paper, but before you remove the paper, you need to come in and you're probably going to have to slip these about 1/8 of an inch to get that to roll around. So just go through and do, I call these snippet marks. Sometimes we put them on our patterns and sometimes we forget to put them on our patterns. But I'm one of these people that I like to see if I can sew it first. And if I can sew it without clipping, then I'm going to sew it without clipping. And if I can't get it to lay down, then I'm going to go back and I'm going to clip it. All right. And I tested this one earlier, so I know I'm just going to go ahead and get the clipping done. I'm only clipping in about 1/8 of an inch, and after I get that clipped, then I come back and I remove the paper. And the reason I like to clip with the paper on there is because it just clips better, and you can see how far you're clipping in instead of that guess of, oh, I think I'm short enough, but all of a sudden you realize that you clipped through more than 1/4 of an inch, and now you have a hole. So I start with the very last piece. There's so many little pieces in here that you're just going to have to pull them carefully. Most of these you're going to start from the center and pull out to the edge. If you start on the edge and go the other way, make sure that you're holding and pinching the fabric right along this edge so that you're not pulling the stitches out. It's going to be easier to tear from the inside out on these, but the last little chunks, just pinch the edges to make sure you don't rip any stitches out. Okay, so we're going to get rid of those, just slide that little bits over. And now I'm going to take this, and here's where I was telling you is the center line. So I don't think I have my white chalk with me, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to just fold it right on that line. Like this. So I have it folded with the right sides out right on my center line. These actually, I sewed the TRP lines on that last one, but I didn't sew it on the first batch. So if you don't want to sew the TRP line on these, it's pretty easy just to come in here and crease that line right like that. And then when you open it up, you can see where you have to set it, okay? And then we're going to flip this over. And I'm going to take just a little tiny pin. I left my pins over here. I don't like to use really big pins when I'm doing this. And I'm going to pin right there in the middle. Okay, and hold that in position. On the very first Geese section, if I fold my seams back, I have these little dog ears right there. I'm going to actually trim those because if I leave them in there, I'm going to have 2 extra layers of fabric in the seam allowance that I really don't need. So if I fold those back on line 1 and line 2, I can get rid of those dog ears. And now when I sew my seam, I don't have those extra 2 layers right there where I'm trying to match everything up. Okay. We have right sides together. We're going to grab our glue pen, and I'm going to actually take and line up this piece, and I'm going to put just a little bit of glue right along that edge there on the corner, and I'm going to push the 2 pieces together, and then I'm going to grab another small pin and I'm going to pin this edge right like that. Okay. And then we're going to come and do that on this side too. So the first thing we're going to do is match right at that corner so you have a perfect match. I'm not one of these people that starts sewing and then when I'm done sewing look at it and go, oh, it didn't match. Everything I make matches before I start sewing that seam. So we're going to line this up along the edge and we're going to pin. Okay, so now I know that all of this has to fit in here and all of this has to fit in here. So what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to pull the center pin out now, and I'm just going to fold these. I'm just going to pleat them, and I'm going to go in between, halfway in between each one of those wedges, geese wedges, and I'm going to fold it like that. And basically I'm folding it as if it was all coming down to this point right here. Okay, and it's just kind of gathered up right there at the bottom, and what that does is it fans it out for me along this edge. And then I'm just going to take my pin cushion and put on there for now, and I'm going to grab my glue and I'm going to glue the edges. And I start along the edge, work my way back to the center. Okay, so see how nice that's fitting? And then we're going to come over here and we're going to start along the first edge and work back to the center. And you're just putting the glue on the bottom layer fabric. And then you're going to push the glue. And you don't want to get any little folds or puckers in there. Okay. So see how nice that looks? It fits. And everything just fits perfectly along there. Now if you want, you could actually take and cut yourself some templates out of some freezer paper, and you could actually iron all of these pieces onto a freezer paper, and then it'll stay stiff for you. But you can also do it this way. It just takes a little bit more work. Okay, I'm going to start sewing here. I'm going to run my foot right along the edge there, and we're going to sew a 1/4 inch foot. After I make the first 2 or 3 stitches, I'm going to pull that first pin out, because then I have access to be able to pull the ruffles out, which makes it easier not to get any folds in it. Okay, so we're going to place this on. I'm going to grab, I thought I brought them in here, right here, some extra little fat paper, and I'm going to start sewing on a little piece of paper. And I want my needle down. Okay, so I got that so it stops down. Whenever I'm doing curved piecing, you want that needle down. Now I'm just going to take and lay the piece right on there and line up my pressure foot, and I don't have to worry about the feed dogs pulling that raw edge down into my feed dogs down there, which happens a lot. So now I'm just going to start sewing, and I'm going to sew 1/4 of an inch seam. I'm sewed in about 1/2 inch, and now I'm going to pull that pin out. And then I'm going to pull my fabric like that. So every time I pull the fabric out that direction, it flattens all of the fabric in front of my foot for about 1 inch. So when I get over to a seam, I'm going to lift my pressure foot, set it back down on the seam, and then I'm going to take this and move it out. Before I get to the seam, I'm going to lift the pressure foot, put it back down, because it's going to bunch that seam up, and I don't want it to do that. Take a couple stitches, and then I'm going to pull that out again. You're going to sew straight off of the end. Don't veer in one way or the other. You want 1/4 of an inch line right there. And when you get done, then you pull that pin out. And now we have this really nice curved seam here. Okay. Now we have to decide which way we're going to press it. And I do believe that these instructions, let's look at them. I think they give you pressing instructions. Whoops. They do give you pressing instructions. So on illustration 2, there's a whole bunch of arrows that tell me where to press. And I'm actually working on my unit B2. And so it's telling me to press back into the geese. So I'm going to press the seam into the geese. If I had my acorn pin, I would have taken that and run that right along that and steamed that seam, and it would be laying down really, really flat for me. But for some reason, I stole that out of my room too. So we'll have to live without it today. Okay, so let's take this piece and we're going to sew this on. And I get a lot of people, they'll put out post pictures that it doesn't fit. They'll set it up like this and they'll go, it doesn't fit. What do I do? Well, it's going to fit as soon as you flip that over and you sew that seam allowance. So if you're new to curved piecing, realize that what you see here, it doesn't look like it's going to fit. But as soon as you actually flip that over and you pull your seam allowance, you're actually matching this point with 1/4 of an inch in on this side. So don't let that fool you, okay? So we're going to take this and we have to pull our TRP lines out, and I'm going to mark everything before I move it. Okay. Now, I believe that if you're only making the wall quilt, you really only need to match this one up here, because you're not going to be sewing anything on the outside of this unit, this template piece. If you're making the queen, you have another border. So it depends on how many mixers you're using. So this is our B mixer. Once it's square, you can quit if you want, or you can add the next border, which is actually the C border. And then after you add the C border, you go up to the queen border, all right? So this TRP line that's on the outside is going to match up to your C border. and get that squared up with your quilt. So we're just going to take and cut this out, and then I'm going to have to get this started and pull my threads. And I'm going to finish doing a little bit of marking here. I normally just mark these two templates after I get them set up this way, because I'm going to start sewing them. Once I start sewing, I'm going to sew all 4 of these. I'm not going to stop and come back a year later. I'm going to get all 4 of them done, and then if I have to put it away, I would at least make sure I get that part of it done. So let's go ahead and pull out those. And I did a really tight TRP line on these because I didn't adjust my stitch. So it might take me a minute to get it out, get them out. Grab a little pair of tweezers here and finish pulling that out. And I don't have to worry about not knowing which one is the right or the wrong side, because I just want my right sides up. All right. And then I'm just going to set that back like that. Now this one is a real gentle curve, and so I don't need to go in and clip anything. I'm just going to line where I can still see where that TRP line is from the front. I'm going to line that up with the center line on that curve goose. There we go. And let's just put a small pin in there. I don't necessarily have to pin all the way out to the outside, because if I don't, I can get in there and finish up with the gluing on it. So we're going to take this one over, and this is going to fit like that. See how that comes right around that corner? So you have a straight edge and then a curve, but you're going to actually fit that on there. And we're going to put our glue on that. And then I'm going to take a little pin and I'm going to secure that edge so that the glue doesn't pop out. And then we're going to do the same thing over here. So let's glue the corner. Right, like that. And then let's secure that and pin that right along that edge to get that straight, and that'll keep that from popping out for me. Now we're just going to lift this up and put a little bit more glue. And it doesn't take much glue there to get this to lay down. And start from the outside and work back to the center. When you start in the center and work out this way, if there's any fullness, you're going to put all your fullness along the edge of your block. If you start on the outside and work to the center, you put your fullness into the middle of your block, and now your blocks are still going to lay straight for you. All right, so we're going to take this, like that. And you can see how nice that fits. It has a little ruffle, and that's what it's supposed to look like. And we're going to glue this, or sew it, not glue it. We've already glued it. So I'm going to grab my paper, get started on another piece of paper. And now I'm going to pull the first pin out, get that, lift the feed dogs, set the pressure foot down, and start sewing. I missed a little section there with my glue, and so it's trying to pucker, because one of the advantages of gluing that is you're feeding all the fabric at the same time. If you miss a section of it, then it starts bunching the top one. But if it's glued together, then you're not going to have the problem of the top layer stretching on you. Anyway, I missed about 1.5 inches there, and so it was starting to want to pucker on me.
The purple thing we sent you can help with those puckers.
It works great. Thank you, Judelle, for reminding me of the purple thing. Because not only that, you can take the end of this and you can get it right in there next to your foot, and you can hold that. And if you're getting a little pucker on that top fabric, you can just rub it out with that point. It works really, really good. I get to talking and I forget about all these tools that I use. There we go.
It's also really good for helping get the paper out of all of the little sections on your geese and different things. So just so you know, there was a reason we put it in your box.
Okay, so that's what that's supposed to look like. It's supposed to be nice and square. As soon as I get this pressed down, it's going to square up really nice. And I'm going to look at illustration 3 tells me to press this seam out as well. So let's go ahead and press that. And I'm using a dry iron, and I'm not used to, I use a lot of steam. So anyway, that's the curve piecing process. And you're going to complete, I want you guys to just go through, and you're going to do all 4 of this group, then you do all 4 of the next group. And if you do that, you won't get pieces in the wrong place, because you won't be pulling the papers off of any of it until it's ready to sew up. And it just works really well, and it keeps us, if you take all of the papers off, put it all on the wall, and then you try to pick it up and take it to your machine, so often we flip things over, we move something, and next thing you know, we're grabbing something and sewing it onto the wrong piece. I know that by experience. I do it a lot. So it works a lot better if you actually work in groups of 4, okay? So I'm going to put this one back on the wall, and then I think I'm going to review this, that other unit, the border unit that I have right here. This is going to go on here like that, okay? And we have to sew this group together and this group together, and then this group and this group. If you look at your instructions, it tells you the assembly order. So let's just go over that. All right, so if you look on page 7, it has an exploded view right at the top. Okay, now you can actually put this border on the wall without the center blocks and get it all assembled into the 2 half pieces, okay, before you join it onto the center blocks. I just put the center blocks up there so you guys could see them. So illustration 2 is going to tell you all of the pieces that need to be assembled onto the first curves that are assembled, and the pressing instructions, okay? Illustration 3 does the second background piece. So you start with the small curve as the first one you're doing. The second background piece is the bigger one that goes on the outside curve of your geese, okay? On illustration 4, then it has you start sewing those geese sections into groups. And So we have, and it starts naming them by block. So just follow the order that you're doing that, and press in the order that it's telling you to press as well. So follow the pressing. And there's little arrows there that tell you how to press, all right? Then you go to illustration 5, and you have all of those outside blocks joined. Then you come in and you join that triangle at the bottom. Those get sewn on in illustration 6, and then you add that inner border, okay? The pressing directions in this pattern are set up for stacked seams. If you guys know the difference between a stacked seam, where your seams are all pressed the same direction, or opposing seams, you can switch that out, but you're going to want to switch it out at the point of, I think it would be illustration 4. You would have to remap your pressing on the second half on blocks. On the basically half of your units would be pressed the other way when you join those main seams. And you can do that by just taking a marker. If you decide you want to go for opposing seams, then what I would do is come in here and I'd mark that line and say, no, let's press it this way, because then when I join the 4 corners, I'll have opposing seams. This one will be pressed out and the other one will be pressed in. Then you have to follow that through. So you would have it here, and then you would have to do the same thing on the next one as well. So you have to map that in if you want those opposing seams, which depending on what fabrics you have, that's normally when I make my choice of whether I want opposing seams. The heavier the fabric, the more apt I am to work with an opposing seam. Okay, so that's how you assemble. Once that's assembled, then you can go back and you can add those center blocks, but the instructions on how those are added are actually in your introduction booklet. Okay, so I'm going to pin these back on the wall and then clean off my table, and we're going to go over, what time is it?
It's 3:40.
3:40. So we still have just a few more minutes to talk through that piece.
Uh-oh.
Did you just lose them?
I lost the camera.
Oh.
Why did I lose a camera? I lost the front camera.
No, we're still seeing the side camera.
Oh, I lost this camera up here. Like the camera. Alright, it's back on, but I don't know if it'll reconnect.
Yeah, it's not connecting, so.
Hold on. Okay, so I can see you now. So now we might have to see. Wait, hold on.
She's gonna keep trying to get that camera. If not, I'll move.
Yeah, once we lose a camera, it gets kind of hard. So
I can just move over to the camera we're on, Jadelle.
On the wall?
Yeah, I can.
Okay. All right. Do you want to put?
Do you have the camera at the machine?
I have the machine camera.
Okay.
I have all the rest of the cameras. I have the one on the. I have the flat camera too. What are you wanting to show now?
I'm going to show them how I set these colors up. I'm going to use the camera at the machine, so.
Okay.
And that way we don't have to shut down and start over. So give me just a second to move my machine.
Well, are you going to do more sewing?
No, I don't need to sew.
Oh, well, I have the overhead camera.
Oh, okay.
I just don't have the front camera.
Okay. So you don't get to see me, you just get to watch. So I'm going to pull these pieces off. So I made the ones that are on the wall last night.
Okay, hold on. We have a question. She said, did I hear you say that after the 4 quarters are done, we can sew them onto the feathered star?
Yes, you did hear that.
You can, but you can only sew them, like if we go to that view, you can show them. You don't want to sew.
You would sew this part.
Just sew the triangle part.
Yeah. So you're gonna have this section sewn onto here, and this section sewn onto here. So
and then leave it.
And you're gonna have it like that. So don't sew these all together. All right. So you want to work in 4 quarters. These big, large triangle quarters is the way that quilt's set up. The reason why you want to set that up is because the C border sews onto this group right here. And if you sew it into a square, then you have to split the C border, and they don't necessarily split.
You might also end up with a Y seam if you sew the whole quilt together at this point. So you don't actually want to do that yet.
Yeah. So
in the introduction booklet that was included in your first box, there is an extra assembly graphic in there that tells you how the whole thing is sewn together. So if you want to look ahead a little bit, you can do that. If you sew those pieces together, you'll be either doing a Y seam or you'll be picking some pieces out.
Yeah. So you just want to sew it into the diagonal, then the next one goes on and the next one goes on. But don't sew the whole quilt together unless you're done with it, if you're not going to add anything else. So the answer was yes, and the answer was no. There's a warning. Okay. So I haven't cut these pieces apart, but I have all of the sections with the right pieces, okay? But when I started, I had them all set up last night into a pile for my right side and then into a pile for my left side. And I was trying to do both of them at the same time. And probably 4 times I grabbed from the wrong pile and put the pieces on upside down. Now, I was talking with my students at the time, and we were laughing and talking about stuff. So that could have been a little bit of the issue, but I really think these are easier because they're so long. I actually put swatches on them so that I could see which one I was on, because depending on how your colors are set up, if you're doing, if you have 2 colors in here, you need to know which one you're picking up, okay? As you stack them, and it also will give you your stacking order when you start stacking them. So it's easy to mess them up. You're going to start your sewing at this end. So these are going to be sticking way down. So what you want to do is just take these papers and just fold them over like this. And just fold them nice and flat to where you can actually get it under the machine. I'd probably fold it 1 more time. And then I put a paper clip on it. Okay, and now I'm only going to work the first 3 sections, then I'll unroll it, and then I'll continue on as I add the sections. So I would make all 4 of these together, and then I would make all 4 of these together, rather than trying to do them at one time and end up grabbing from the wrong pile. All right, they're very easy to make. And the other thing I did last night is I put it on a light table, because as I was doing it, when I was putting those pieces on upside down, the reason why is because I couldn't see where my line work was on the back, okay? So put it on a light table and go through and mark line 1, line 2, 3, 4, and mark the dashed lines on the back of your papers. That will save you a lot of time, because then you can see where your sew side, which edge is your sew side, and where the square edge at the top hits on those as well. So they're a little tricky because you're just constantly flipping those pieces. But it does make up, it's easy to do. You don't have any points that are matching, so you guys will do okay with these. Just put them in 2 different piles and do your B1Rs together, and then come back and do your B1Ls together. And I really do recommend to mark the back side. If I have to mark the back side, you guys will probably wish you did too. So, all right. So I think we're getting pretty close to being done. I do want to tell you for the next class that we do, I think is in September.
Yes, and we may move that date. And the reason why I mentioned on the board that we have a fabric delay, and it's the fabrics that are coming from the fabric company as a gift for you guys. We were originally thinking that those would show up around the end of June, and now it's going to be the end of July, early August, and we're not exactly sure when that's gonna happen. And then we have to cut the little 5-inch squares that go into it and pull all of that together. So I mentioned on the board that we had some options of either trying to see if there was a substitute or just sticking with the plan. And because all of this stuff is planned, I mean, literally we're planning this, you know, almost a year in advance to get the fabric companies to, you know, get us the products and everything else. We just decided it would be better to delay shipment of box 3 by just a little bit. And that means I'll probably shift the class time also. But anyway,
yeah.
And the other thing that's going to happen in that box is a few of you upgraded to a king size design. You'll be getting all of your king size stuff in your 3rd box shipment. So you get everything for that. And we don't have a video for the king border. We only have a video for the queen border. So you'll be done at the end of the next video series. So I don't know what else you were going to say, but
the cutting for the next one is really simple. So I'm not going to go through any cutting instructions in that next video. You guys can actually open up your pattern. It's only there's 4 pages to the pattern, and they're all straight lines, so it's pretty hard to get anything messed up on that next border. It's very simple, and so it'll probably be a pretty short video as well. Now, I didn't realize Judelle was putting the king size version there, so I may talk a little bit about expanding that into the king size during that video as well. We could probably do a little bit of expansion stuff there for the instructions.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, because the next border really is pretty straightforward.
Yeah,
so
it's very simple.
And also, if you did so in this box, you got a little woven ribbon star. If you haven't done that yet, we will be filming a video for the woven ribbon star as well. We just don't have time to do that today. And so it'll probably be a couple more weeks before we have one. But if you didn't see the haystack cookies one that we put out on YouTube that was about 4 or 5 minutes, definitely go check it out. We'll do a similar one to that for the woven ribbon star for those of you who want a video for that as well. So yeah, we're done today. Can we see
the camera came back?
No, it didn't. I switched.
Oh, you switched it?
Yeah, I just switched to this. Someone said, can we see the king border? If you go to box.quiltworx.com, which is where you originally ordered your boxes, you can see the pictures of the king borders that are on there. But I will say that we are out of fabrics for all of the colorways that were offered during the event, at least to cut more of them. It doesn't mean I couldn't get you some king border options. If you open Quiltster, you can see the king expansion template for this, and then all the colorways are there as well. And you can open it up and you can get the fabric information, because some of the fabrics are still available. And you probably will actually be able to find even like the hydrangea sample might be a little bit tougher. The heather and sage, the fabric company's starting to discontinue that, but a lot of those fabrics are still around. So if you're interested, you can just open that up in Quiltster and get more information there. If this is the first time you're tuning in and you're new to this, there's going to be more information coming out, but I've had a lot of people request or say they wish they could do the large box, even though we're basically on a fabric. But so I had been directing people to do the pattern only, but we went through a bunch of fabrics that we have here, and we were able to come up with 2 new colorways. So over the next couple days, I'll be releasing 2 new box related colorways. You'll get boxes 1 and 2 right away if you went in and ordered that, and 3 and 4 will come when they ship normally, and we can do 20 of each of those colorways. So I will have 40 more boxes here pretty soon. You'll still get the strip sets, you'll get all of the things. The only thing is in your box number 1, there are a coupon book, and a lot of those coupons have expired by now. But I'm betting that if you called people that you saw the coupons from, most of them would honor that. If you said you bought into the box late and you were still hoping to get that information. So just some housekeeping items. Is there anything else you have to say?
No.
Okay. So I think we're set, and thanks for joining us today. I'm sorry we lost a camera, but anyway, we had 5 more in the room that we were able to work around. So,
and I only made one mistake today.
Yeah,
only
that's
one.
right. But now she has to go get more fabric and recut it. So anyway, all right. Thanks everybody, and we will see you soon. Have to remember where all of